Shackleton's long-lost ship Endurance is finally found.
Antarctica, the icy continent at the bottom of the world, is more than just snow and penguins. Hidden beneath its frozen surface are strange discoveries that challenge what we know about our world. From ancient mysteries to strange underground rivers, these findings reveal a hidden world full of secrets. Join us as we take a look at the most mysterious things discovered in Antarctica. Number 15. Endurance shipwreck. More than 100 years ago, a ship vanished beneath the Antarctic ice. No one thought it would ever be seen again. But in 2022, something incredible happened. A team of explorers set out on a mission to find it, braving one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. What they found was nothing short of astonishing. Back in 1917, Sir Ernest Shackleton led the British Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition. His goal was to cross Antarctica by way of the South Pole. But things didn't go as planned. Shackleton and his crew of 28 men set sail on a ship called the Endurance. However, they found themselves trapped in thick ice early in 1915. The Weddell Sea, known for its brutal conditions, refused to let them go. For months, the ice held the Endurance. Eventually, the crew had no choice but to abandon ship and fight for survival. Shackleton led them on an incredible journey across the ice and sea, determined to bring everyone home. Against all odds, every single crew member survived. But the Endurance was lost, swallowed by the sea in November 1915. Fast forward to 2022, when the team of modern explorers decided to take on the challenge of finding the legendary wreck. The Weddell Sea is known as one of the most treacherous places on the planet. This made the search no small task, but they did it. The Endurance was found, resting nearly 4 miles from where it had been crushed by the ice over a century ago. Despite spending more than 100,000 years under 10,000 feet of water, the ship was in shockingly good shape. The structure, though slightly damaged, was mostly intact. Even the name Endurance was still clearly visible on the stern. But Antarctica holds more than just lost ships. Scientists have recently stumbled upon something buried deep in this frozen world, something that doesn't rely on the usual sources of life. Number 14. Air-eating bacteria. Some discoveries make you question what you thought you knew about life. In 2017, scientists found a strange kind of bacterium in Antarctica, one that survives by feeding on nothing but the chemicals in the air. This tiny organism thrives in a place where almost nothing else can. And it might change how we think about life on other planets. Antarctica is one of the harshest places on Earth. It has freezing temperatures, months of darkness, and brutal ultraviolet radiation. Most living things would not stand a chance, but somehow, this bacterium found a way. The real question is, how? To find out, researchers collected soil from 2 barren areas of Antarctica known as Robinson Ridge and Adams Flat. These places were chosen because there is almost no sign of life, no obvious food source, and no energy to support living things. Scientists then analyzed the DNA in the soil using a technique that pieces together small fragments to reveal entire genomes. What they found was surprising. There were 23 different microbes, including 2 completely new types of bacteria, named WPS2 and AD3. The most common bacteria in the soil had special genes that let them absorb hydrogen and carbon monoxide from the air. This ability allowed them to survive such an extreme environment as Antarctica. So, little sunlight, no geothermal energy, and few nutrients was no problem. It is the first known organism that lives this way, an air-eating bacterium that exists on almost nothing. This discovery raises big questions. If bacteria on Earth can survive like this, could simple life forms on distant planets do the same? Scientists are now considering the possibility more seriously. Number 13. A giant hole. Antarctica is known for its thick, unbroken ice, except when a massive hole suddenly opens up. Back in 2016 and 2017, This massive opening in the ice caught scientists' attention. It stretched to about 19,000 square miles, twice the size of Vermont. Even though larger ones had been seen before, this time was different. Experts finally had the tools to study it properly. They called it a polynya, a rare gap in the ice that can last for weeks or even months. These openings create an unexpected gathering place for penguins, whales, and seals, giving them a spot to surface and breathe. But in the harsh Antarctic winter, spotting one isn't easy, making them tricky to study. A research team from the University of Washington decided to take a closer look. They used satellite images, floating sensors, and even tracking devices attached to seals to collect data. Their goal was to figure out why these strange gaps appear in some years, but not others, and what effect they might have on the larger ocean system. What they found was surprising. It turns out these holes aren't random. A mix of unusual ocean conditions and powerful storms over the Weddell Sea, some with winds as strong as a hurricane, played a big role in making them appear. Number 12, the underground river. For years, scientists thought they understood what lay below Antarctica. But a recent discovery changed that. Beneath the frozen surface, a river flows, a hidden waterway stretching farther than England's Thames. In 2022, researchers used ice-penetrating radar from aircraft to map what was underneath. Their surveys revealed a river system running 285 miles, draining into the Weddell Sea. This wasn't just a few isolated pockets of water. It was a connected network, moving beneath thousands of feet of ice. One of the researchers explained that scientists once believed the lakes under the ice were separate from each other. But now, they were realizing that massive river systems existed down there, just like the ones on the surface. The only difference? They were buried under thick ice, hidden from view. This underground river doesn't just sit there, it has a real impact. The flowing water makes the base of the ice sheet more slippery. This means the ice above can move more easily, and that's a big deal. The area drained by this system is so large that if all the ice melted, it could raise global sea levels by over 14 feet. That kind of melt wouldn't happen overnight, but there is still a lot scientists don't know. How fast will the ice change as the planet warms? What does this hidden river mean for the future? The discovery of an underground river changes what we know about Antarctica. But what about the things we can see? Some shapes in the ice look a little too precise to be natural. Number 11, pyramid-shaped mountain. Most mountains have jagged peaks, shaped by time and weather, but one in Antarctica is different. From above, it looks like something else entirely. Its sharp edges and clean slopes make it resemble an ancient pyramid. This unnamed peak caught the internet's attention back in 2016. Theories spread fast. Some believed it was built by an ancient civilization, hidden for thousands of years under the ice. Others took the idea even further, suggesting it could be linked to something beyond Earth. But as fascinating as those ideas sound, experts believe the truth is much simpler. According to them, no lost civilization shaped this mountain, and no alien technology was involved. It was formed by nature itself, shaped over time by powerful forces. Even though it looks impressive, this mountain isn't especially tall compared to others. It reaches about 4,150 feet. This is only a fraction of Denali's height, the tallest peak in North America. But what it lacks in size, it makes up for in appearance. Its striking pyramid shape is what makes people take a second look. Scientists explain that a process called freeze-thaw erosion likely carved it into its current form. During the day, snow or water seeps into tiny cracks in the rock. When temperatures drop at night, that water freezes and expands, widening the cracks. Over time, this happens again and again, breaking the rock apart and shaping it into a pyramid-like structure. Even though science has an answer for this mystery, the sight of such a perfect peak in the middle of Antarctica still makes one wonder. Number 10, Doomsday Glacier. At the base of our world sits a vast bowl of ice known as the West Antarctic Ice Sheet. Every day, the ocean touches its edge and slowly wears away at the glaciers lining its rim. When these glaciers finally give way, the sea will start filling the basin. This change may lead to flooding along coastlines around the globe. Thwaites Glacier, or Doomsday Glacier, is one of the key barriers holding back the collapse of this ice sheet. Most of the ice here rests below sea level and contains enough ice to raise the ocean by about nearly 11 feet. Despite its massive size, similar to that of Florida, Thwaites is very unstable and melts quickly. Scientists already knew its ice loss was rapid. Recent research, however, revealed that the glacier is in contact with much warmer water than they had thought. Using satellite images and hydraulic models, researchers found that warm tidal currents reach deep into the glacier, up to 3.7 miles below the surface. This causes vigorous melting. An associate professor of glaciology at the University of Waterloo explained that it was very important to understand how fast the ice is changing and to predict the changes over the next 20 to 50 years. The professor noted that scientists had hoped it would take hundreds of years for the ice to disappear. They became very concerned when they realized the changes might happen much faster. As global temperatures continue to rise, ice from glaciers and ice sheets melts and flows into the oceans, pushing sea levels higher. Since 1880, sea levels have climbed about 9 inches. A sudden jump could spell disaster for major cities such as New York, Mumbai, and Shanghai, and even low-lying countries might be swallowed by the sea. Number 9. Bleeding ice. Have you ever seen ice that seems to bleed red? In the heart of Antarctica's endless shining snow and deep blue glacier ice, there is a place known as Blood Falls. It sits at the end of Taylor Glacier in the McMurdo Dry Valleys. The falling water looks like a burst of red streaming from a wound in the ice. An Australian geologist named Griffith Taylor first came across this strange feature in 1911. He believed the red color came from red algae. For nearly 100 years, no one could explain the true cause. Eventually, scientists found the answer. They discovered that the water-feeding Blood Falls came from a salty lake trapped beneath the ice. After glaciers formed above it, the lake was cut off from the air and buried about 400 meters deep. Over time, the water grew much saltier, 3 times saltier than regular seawater. Because of this, it does not freeze, even in the extreme cold. The water is full of iron but has no oxygen and never sees sunlight. As it seeps slowly through a crack in the glacier and meets the open air, a chemical reaction starts. The iron oxidizes, much like metal left outside on a rainy day, and gives the water a rusty red tint. Many who see Blood Falls say it is both eerie and strangely beautiful. The sight of red water flowing from the ice has captured the attention of scientists and curious travelers alike. Yet, reaching this remote wonder is not easy. Only helicopters or cruise ships that travel to the Ross Sea can get close enough to see it up close. Number 8. A hidden ecosystem. In one remote part of Antarctica, scientists uncovered a discovery that changes how we see life in the coldest places on Earth. They found an ecosystem that had never been seen before. It lives in an underground river far below the icy surface of the Larsen ice shelf. They used a huge hot water drill to reach this hidden chamber. The secret habitat sits in a large space about 1,640 feet under the ice. The team discovered this underground structure after noticing an odd groove in a satellite image of the ice sheet. They did not expect to find any living space when they drilled down to check it out. The researchers then sent a small camera through a narrow, icy tunnel into the cavern. When the camera reached the chamber, the video showed hundreds of tiny, blurry spots moving in the water. At first, the team thought their camera was broken. But after they refocused it, they saw that the lens was covered with small crustaceans known as amphipods. This discovery of the shrimp-infested hidden space made the team very excited. The scientists plan to continue studying this underground ecosystem. They hope to learn more about how nutrients move through Antarctica's hidden water networks to support the many living things there. Their research could help us understand how such secret habitats work and what can be done to protect them. At the same time, the team is worried. They know that even these hidden ecosystems may be in danger because of rising temperatures caused by climate change. The discovery opens up new questions about how fragile life can be in the harshest places on Earth, and scientists are eager to find answers. They hope that their studies will not only protect this hidden world, but also help us understand how life survives in extreme conditions. Number 7. Edwardsiella andrili. Antarctica might seem like a lifeless frozen desert. Yet, despite its extreme conditions, it is home to one of the most surprising examples of life on Earth. In the 2010 to 2011 season, as part of the Andril program, scientists drilled a deep borehole to study what lay beneath the Ross ice shelf. The hole was 850 feet deep and about 12 inches wide. Through this hole, researchers sent down a remotely operated vehicle to capture footage while retrieving a sediment core sample from the seafloor. But when the vehicle's camera popped back up, it didn't capture what scientists were expecting. Instead of showing barren, empty waters under the ice shelf, it displayed a hidden, almost ghostly scene. Buried in the ice were upside-down anemones, living inside burrows in the lower part of the shelf. This discovery blew the researchers away. These anemones were later named Edwardsiella andrili after the program. This was the first time scientists had ever found sea anemones living in ice. What is even more baffling is how these creatures survive the extreme temperatures without freezing. It is still unclear how they attach themselves to the sea ice and how they manage to thrive in such conditions, especially since they can't burrow into ice the same way they do in sand. Scientists believe that they might feed on plankton in the water. Of course, there is still much to learn, as no one has uncovered the full mystery of how these amazing creatures do it. It just goes to show that life can find a way, even in the most unlikely places. Number 6. Sand dunes. Antarctica is full of surprises. Besides its endless ice, there is also the presence of enormous sand dunes which challenge our ideas of a frozen world. Most people think of sand with warm, sunny places, but here the story is very different. This icy continent is actually the largest desert on Earth. The land is bitterly cold, dry, and windy. Almost all of it is covered in ice, with less than 1% left uncovered. And yet in that small patch, massive sand dunes appear. One of these dunes stands out. Located in Victoria Valley, this dune reaches an impressive height of 230 feet and stretches over 650 feet wide. Its size is hard to imagine in a place known for snow and ice. Scientists say that studying these dunes helps them learn more about similar features on Mars. The dunes offer clues about how wind and other natural forces shape the land. Over the past 40 years, experts have seen a change that worries them. The dunes are moving faster than before. Their migration rate has tripled during that time. Researchers measure their movement at about 5 feet each year. They believe that this quick movement is connected to climate change. As the levels of carbon dioxide rise in the atmosphere and warm the planet, the ice that holds the dunes begins to melt. This melting makes the ice lose its grip on the sand, causing the dunes to shift rapidly. To learn more about these moving dunes, researchers hope to drill safely into the valley where they are found. They plan to study how the dunes move and how the melting ice affects them. Their work may reveal new details about our changing planet and add to our understanding of both Earth and other worlds. Scientists remain excited by this hidden wonder. They continue to use modern tools and careful methods to gather data while working hard to protect this unique part of the continent. Number 5. Gomburtsev Mountains. Beneath Antarctica's frozen silence lies a secret that few have ever imagined. Hidden under a sheet of ice that can be 2,000 to 4,000 kilometers thick, an entire mountain range remains out of sight. The range is called the Gomburtsev Mountains. They stretch for 1,200 kilometers and rise to 3,000 meters, which is about a third of the height of Mount Everest. These mountains carry a name full of history. They were named after Soviet geophysicist Grigory A. Gomburtsev. Russian scientists made the discovery in 1958. While traveling across Antarctica, they came upon a narrow strip of ice that looked different. The researchers recorded unusual gravity readings at that spot. Those abnormal readings revealed that something incredible was hidden beneath the ice. Even though we have never seen the mountains with our own eyes, scientists have found ways to study them. They use radar to detect the physical features of the mountains. In addition, gravitational and magnetic measurements help them learn about the landscape all the way down to its base. These tools allow the researchers to build a picture of a world that lies far below the surface. The Gamburtsev Mountains have puzzled scientists for many years. They are about 1 billion years old. With so much time passed, one would expect that natural forces would have worn them down, yet they still stand tall and strong. Many ideas have been suggested about why these mountains have not eroded away. One leading thought is that a frozen layer, acting like a shield, may be protecting them from the usual effects of erosion. Every study brings new questions about these hidden giants. The mountains remind us that even in the harshest, most isolated parts of our planet, nature can create wonders that defy our expectations. Subscribers pick. Now, it is time for today's subscribers pick. Take a good look at this mind-blowing image. A massive figure, frozen in ice, lies beneath towering glaciers. It looks almost human, but the details are unsettling. The way it rests as if waiting to wake up, it is the kind of thing that leads to wild theories. Around it, tiny figures of people and machines seem to be investigating, as if they just uncovered something ancient and impossible. Could this be another one of those mysterious things discovered in Antarctica? Whatever it is, one thing is for sure. It makes you wonder. What if something like this really was buried under the ice, waiting to be found? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section. Number 4. Oldest marine DNA. On a chilly autumn day in 2022, an unexpected discovery emerged from the icy lands of Antarctica. In that fall, scientists uncovered DNA that dated back millions of years. These unusual genetic samples, known as sedimentary ancient DNA or cetDNA, were collected by accident from depths reaching 584 feet below the seafloor. The find took place during a survey led by the International Ocean Discovery Program in the Scotia Sea, located north of mainland Antarctica. The research team worked carefully to determine the age of the recovered DNA fragments. They examined the damage patterns in the samples and found that the oldest fragments were around 1 million years old. This result surprised many because it surpassed the age of the previously known oldest cetDNA from Arctic permafrost, which had been dated to about 650,000 years old. Scientists had not yet identified the species that the oldest cetDNA belonged to. They were sure, however, that it came from a eukaryote. In simple terms, this meant that the DNA must have come from an animal, a plant, or a fungus, not from bacteria or a virus. Among the many DNA samples collected, the majority belonged to diatoms. Diatoms are a type of phytoplankton that still live in the oceans today. These tiny organisms form the base of many marine food webs and play a key role in supporting life in the sea. Finding this ancient DNA has opened a window into the Earth's deep past. It shows that even in the harsh, frozen conditions of Antarctica, life once thrived in forms that are still connected to the modern world. The discovery gives scientists a better understanding of how life can survive under extreme conditions and over incredibly long periods. Researchers are excited by the potential of these findings to reveal more about the history of life on our planet. Number 3. Mount Erebus. When you think of volcanoes around the world, you probably don't think of a frozen land like Antarctica. Yet on Ross Island stands Mount Erebus. It is a volcano that defies expectations. Rising 12,400 feet high, it is the southernmost active volcano on the planet. Remarkably, it still hosts an active lava lake, a rare trait these days. Its remote and harsh surroundings add to the challenge of studying it. Because of its harsh weather and distant setting, scientists rarely visit Mount Erebus in person. Most of the eruption images come from satellites orbiting high above the planet. In 2013, a small team of researchers climbed the volcano and took a short look inside the large crater at its top. They reported that they saw a surprising amount of movement from tiny organisms living in the intense heat. The team later said that the sight of these active life forms made them very excited. Mount Erebus began forming about 1.3 million years ago. Today, its sides are covered with snow, rocks, and glaciers, giving the mountain a rugged and icy look. Steam often rises from its summit. Along with its dramatic exterior, the mountain holds several ice caves near its surface. These caves, hidden by a thin layer of ice, contain thousands of microscopic organisms. Scientists believe that some of the world's least understood and strangest forms of bacteria live in the soil of these ice caves. They are still trying to learn how these bacteria survive in such extreme conditions. The heat from the volcano even causes ice crystals to form inside the caves, which adds an unusual sparkle to the dark, icy interiors. Climbing Mount Erebus is a risky task. The unpredictable weather and treacherous ice make the journey very dangerous. Yet every expedition to this remote volcano gives researchers new clues about how life adapts to the most extreme places on Earth. The harsh environment and active geology of Mount Erebus continue to challenge our ideas about where and how life can exist. Number 2. Meteorite from space. The icy landscape of Antarctica hides secrets that seem straight out of science fiction. On December 27, 1984, a team from the Antarctic Search for Meteorites found a small piece of rock from Mars buried in the ice. This rock, now known as Allen Hills 84001, weighs just over 4 pounds. Experts believe it formed from molten rock more than 4 billion years ago. That makes it an ancient relic from another world. In 1996, the rock grabbed national attention. Some scientists said they had found fossils of tiny bacteria inside it. They claimed that these fossils showed life once existed on Mars. However, many other scientists found this idea very controversial. They believed the evidence was too weak to support such a claim. Their careful research led them to reject the idea, noting that the evidence did not prove the presence of ancient life on the red planet. Even without the debate over life, this 4-billion-year-old rock is an amazing find on its own. It connects us with the distant past and makes us wonder about the history of our solar system. Number 1. The singing ice. The ice on Antarctica carries its own unique tune that you can't hear. When scientists first reviewed recordings from the Ross Ice Shelf, they found that the ice produced a steady sound at a frequency of 5 hertz, 5 cycles every second. Here is how it sounds. This low hum was caused by winds blowing over the ice, both from nearby areas and farther away. They also discovered that the tone of the sound changed when events on the surface affected the snow and ice, such as storms that moved snow dunes or episodes of heavy melting. Between 2014 and 2017, researchers had set up 37 seismic sensors on the Ross Ice Shelf. Their goal was to study different aspects of how the ice shelf behaves. Yet, when they reviewed the data, they were surprised to find that the top layer of snow was vibrating almost all the time. The active winds whipped across the uneven surface, creating a constant, low vibration. One expert explained that the effect was much like someone constantly blowing a flute over the ice. The scientists observed that the pitch of the hum would subtly shift under certain conditions. For example, after powerful storms changed the shape of the snow dunes, or following a warming event in January 2016 that led to melting on the surface, the sound would change. Such details in the vibration pattern caught the attention of the research team. They believed that by carefully monitoring this continuous song, they could track changes in the surface ice from a distance and nearly in real time. This method of listening to the ice might help scientists build a more complete picture of how stable the ice shelf is. It could also serve as an early warning sign if the ice shelf becomes vulnerable to collapse, the experts noted. In this way, the subtle music of the Antarctic ice offers more than just a curious sound. It holds clues about the health of one of Earth's most remote and extreme environments. The continuous hum of the ice, shaped by wind and weather, becomes a natural indicator that scientists can use to better understand the changing conditions of the frozen landscape.